Good everyone, on this video. Today we have a review on the Avenger Mark II. As previously mentioned in the Fokker D21, obviously if you haven't watched that one, I'll explain it here. This is one of the 4 premium vehicles I picked up during the May sale. This one I got completely for free. I bought the Canadian Stuart at my own dollar, and I also bought the Swedish Starter Pack at my own dollar. This, however, I got free by selling stuff on Steam, so thanks Steam. Anyway, so the Avenger Mark II is a aircraft that costs 1,000 golden eagles. I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at how bad the pricing is on this thing. It's a rank 2 premium that costs 1,000 golden eagles. Now, it's definitely one of the cheaper rank 2 premiums for Britain, because Britain seems to have expensive premiums for rank 2. Well, what I would consider to be quite high priced. And this thing coming in at 1,000. Yeah, no, don't even bother. This thing is a pile of garbage. If you're one of those that likes to hear the review early on into the video and then you don't want to see any gameplay, there you go. That's your review. This thing is garbage. For those that like to stick around, of course, well, we haven't seen this plane in a video a lot, have we? Because not many people tend to cover this plane, and I'm hoping that someone out there will probably look for a review and realize just how bad of a mistake you might be committing. So at least I'm doing a service. So the Avenger Mark II is a rank 2, battle rating 2.7, used to be 3.0, torpedo slash bomber. And it is definitely not good in the slightest. Even with its down tier to 2.7, this thing could sit at 2.0 for all I care, and it would still suck. Sure, it'd be fighting biplanes with a really good top turret, but that's about it. That's about the only benefit. So let's go over the armor, the engines. Well, the engine, sorry, this thing is not twin engine, I wish it was. Because then I'd have a bit more horse, but still. And let's go over a little fun fact about this plane before we begin, however. This is not a TBF Avenger that you may think. This is actually a TBM Avenger. I believe that these were built by Goodyear, or there was another company that's completely slipped my mind. But I know it is a different designation. I think it's because it was built from, well, outside of the USA or something like that, or a different company in the USA, and I just can't remember it. If you do happen to remember, unlike me, put it in the comments. So let's go over the engine. This is the Wright Cyclone R2608 14-cylinder radial with 1,470 horsepower on 100% and 1,652 on WEP. The engine itself isn't bad. The problem is this plane has a lot of junk in the trunk, as you can imagine, because, well, it's a torpedo bomber, it's also good as a level bomber, and, well, it's fat. What more can I say? This engine really could do with an upgrade, personally speaking. This is a plane that feels like it's down on power a lot. And I know 1,600 horsepower is nothing to sneeze at, but this plane always feels like it's down on power, purely because of its weight. Going into the aircraft's internal modules, we have a couple of oil cooling systems. This one's the biggest one, and this one always gets hit, so just remember that. In terms of fuel tanks, you don't have many. Fuel fires are quite rare, it's engine fires you're going to have to worry about. And newsflash for those that like to try and put out engine fires, this thing's never put out a fire, so don't even bother. Just try and take the enemy with you that you can. And we have some very old modeling of an M2 Browning machine gun here, because this premium was from back in like 2012, 2013. So the 50 cals have not been changed. That's why they look very awkward. This has 310 rounds per gun with a fire rate of 750 rounds a minute. These are twin 50 caliber machine guns, of course, one in each wing. They don't have a lot of ammunition. They do hit pretty hard though, so that's at least something, and they are very useful for ground attack. Now, of course, there is a pilot here and there is a gunner. This gunner is completely useless. I'm not sure why he's classed as a gunner. I wish he was classed as a second pilot personally, but that's just me. Going into the turrets, we have a single 30 cal Browning machine gun with pretty decent coverage, and the problem is it's quite weak. For 2.7, having a 30 cal, especially a single one, is not great. Compared to an aircraft like the B-34 Lexington slash Ventura slash whatever you want to call it, this is quite weak. And as you're going to see, this even struggled to hold off a Kai 44. That's how weak the gun is. But of course, the main selling point of the Avengers defensive armament is the 12.7 Browning machine gun, operated by, I believe, the navigator in this aircraft. This has good coverage, but has a major dead zone over the back of the aircraft, and it's bad. Let's just say that. There's a lot of area where the 50 cal cannot fire over the back of the tail, and it really prevents this aircraft from working efficiently, because if an enemy just goes below you, they're only going to be getting hit by a 30 cal, and a 30 cal is not that strong. So now that we've covered the internal modules of the aircraft, let's go into modifications, because we have some secondary weapons to look at. But before we do, recommended belts for the aircraft: universal on the 12.7s, although you can also run ground, because obviously it's a pre-war belt for some reason. For your turret of the 12.7 caliber, you want to run universal, as this has the most armor-piercing incendiary content. And for your turret, it really doesn't matter, but I find armored targets to at least do some damage, unlike default. Going into secondary weapons, we come into something that is different about the British Avenger compared to the US Avengers in their tech tree, but of course they only have one, but you get the idea. The weapon I used the most was the 4 500-pound bombs. These drop individually, they have good explosive charge, and on some maps you can actually kill a base with them. So, well, it also depends on mirror as well, but it's pretty useful to have this ability should you need it. We then come to these rockets. These are the Uncle Tom rockets. Now, I've only tried these twice, and every single time they suck, so I can't exactly say from personal experience if they're worth using. I would personally just take the bombs, because I'm a better shot with the bombs than I am the rockets. And of course, with the Avenger being a torpedo bomber, you have a selection of 2 torpedoes. If you want to take this one, you want to stall and crash. If you want to actually hit your target without crashing, use this one. Pretty self-explanatory. But of course, before we continue into the gameplay part of the review, is this aircraft worth buying? No, if it comes up in war bonds, get it. If it don't, leave it. Just leave it to rot. And it's going to rot until I get back to it in the premium series, I'll tell you that right now. Because, as you can see down here, obviously, with the new premiums I acquire, I'm going to be including them as we loop back from Sweden once we've done that. So, don't worry. Those who are looking forward to seeing these various aircraft in a premium series episode, they will come. Don't worry. So, let's get into the replay and let's take a look at the Avenger Mark II, or as I've nicknamed it, the boat of the skies, because Jesus Christ, this thing is a boat. I swear, I've been on ferries that have better handling than this thing. That gives you an idea. There are a couple of points I forgot to mention, which I will cover in the gameplay, because this thing's flight model doesn't feel right. It feels half finished, and that's kind of disappointing. Because I think if they drop the price to around 700 Golden Eagles and fix its fucking flight model, I think this would actually be a pretty decent low-tier CAS option. But of course, you can't always get what you want. So I'm going to start off by putting the replay to 8 times speed. Hope it doesn't crash, because more than the replays recently have been very shit. So I've got to hope it doesn't crash, otherwise this will be a very short video. But then again, you've heard my opinion of it already, so don't worry about it. So of course, coming over the targets now, I'm planning to drop just 1 bomb on each artillery/howitzer that I can get my hands on. And I just want to get the bombs out nice and early. But of course, I'm not actually going to end up getting all 4 bombs out, because I saw a B-34 and I wanted to try and be brave, so to speak. I ended up dropping 3 bombs. The bomb bay will shut in a moment. It is a slight bug with the replay. Sometimes it doesn't show if the bomb bay is shut. So just bear that in mind, because sometimes it's a bit of a delay. And here you can see the 50 cal ball turret has very good coverage. I'm easily able to pelt this B-34 with a large amount of hits, but of course, as you can tell, all I've done is piss him off, and as you're noticing here, I'm having to roll the plane to get shots on him. Now, of course, he's taken a lot of damage there, but it's not putting him down. Not yet. Now, of course, I've still got a bomb remaining, and of course, as I said, the replay thinks I have the bomb bayers open. At this time, they've been shut for a good minute or so. That's just how slow the replay is to respond to that. Of course, swinging it back round for the B-34, he is eventually going to bail out of his aircraft because I think he lost tail control, I'm not entirely sure. And there he goes, that's kill number 1. And of course, I do want to get my last bomb out. That's preferably what I want to do, because obviously I want to try and bleed the tickets, I want to try and support my team, and preferably I want to just lighten the load a little bit, because that's just what I want to do. But of course, this Ki-44 is a 1 model, and he's making his way towards me. And here you can see, the plane is acting very awkward. The rudder is trying to counter-steer what I'm doing, and the elevators are not responding that well either. And that's a major downside of this aircraft. Its handling is dog shit. Like, as I said, I've been on ferries that have better handling than this. I've been in aircraft like freaking airliners that are better handling than this thing. And, well, it's just not that nice to fly. And here we get into the problem of the 50 cal turret. Now, of course, my aim isn't spectacular, I'll fully admit that right now, but if I can't shoot him because my big fat tail's in the way, that proves how much junk in the trunk this thing actually has, and it has a lot of junk in the trunk. The bomb, or the sound you heard there of the ping was not me scoring a critical hit. That was me getting the kill on the AAA's P-side drop. So 4 bombs, 4 targets, in case anyone wanted to know that. But as you can tell, I'm trying to get the 50 on him, and I just simply can't. I do score a crit with the 30 cal, but as you can see, the 30 cal is just not doing the damage. He does score some good hits, and whilst this thing can take a beating from light MG fire, the second that cannon opens up, you're fucked. At this moment, however, the 50 cal gunner is actually reloading. He's out of ammunition. And right there, I score yet another nice hit on his oil tank with the 30 cal. And there we go. He pours every single round he can into me, but he just can't put me down. It is durable to planes like the Ki-44. Of course, the one with the quad 50s would give you a harder time. But to be brutally honest, it's not bad for its durability. I mean, I've even taken 50s hits, like 50 cal hits quite well. It's just, it depends on where it hits. If it hits the wings, it's going to pretty much do nothing. If it hits the fuselage, it'll be stopped by the armor plating, which, for anyone that's curious, because I forgot to mention it, the armor plating isn't particularly thick, but because there's a lot of space in the aircraft, it really benefits, and obviously, as mentioned, it's got a lot of junk in the trunk, so. The best part of the armor is actually the navigator's 50 cal. He has 38mm of bulletproof glass. So speeding us ahead, because, well, we have a lot to get through here. There is a lot, in case you wonder about the chat, there's one guy in a Chinese Key 61 complaining that Spitfires are apparently, how can I say, like, they're apparently skillless planes, and that head-on you saw there, which I accidentally skipped because I was too busy blubbering, that was a head-on with a D4Y3. I took minor damage, I killed him with a front 50 cals. Nothing really to mention here. Of course, I'm planning to go in for another run and get the bombs out because, well, we still have a good 6 minutes left of this match. I still have plenty of 50 cal ammunition. I didn't really take any damage from the D4Y. And the 50s can clean up armoured cars rather nicely. But, as you saw there, this thing doesn't handle very nicely at all. I don't know what's wrong with it. It just doesn't feel nice at all. As I said, I feel like the flight model is not finished. It just doesn't feel right. Of course, going in for a attack run here, I eventually decided to pull out because I must either hit a tree. But the 30 cal gun, it it's handy. Took out that armoured car with that pass, with the 30 cal gunner. But it's just a plane that I can't suggest for a premium. Full stop. I mean, sure, it does this pretty well, like it farms really nicely, but what's the point when you can just buy Pritzker, which is a fighter, can do this job just as well with 650 cals. Sure, it only has one bomb, but it's a Corsair and handles a mile, or let's just say miles better than what this thing does. So a few passes later, I'm eventually going to start dropping my bombs. Now, of course, in the replay, you saw no bombs in the bomb bay itself. That is a bug. And there's the proof. There goes that tank that you saw there. Coming in for another bomb drop, I want to avoid the trees. Get very close to them. Take out the medium tank and the armoured car that was about 5 feet in front of it. Swinging back round for another run, I'm going to drop my last 2 bombs here, I believe. Obviously, I'm eyeing up this vehicle, this tank and this armoured car here. And the other tank and armoured car as well. And there we go. And that's pretty much it. After this point, it's another 4 minutes of flying around trying to look for ground targets that I haven't killed yet. And I think I end up with about 25, so a good run. But for 1,000 golden eagles, save your money. Just honestly save your money. I got this thing for free, and I still want the 1,000 golden eagles back. But it's at least something that I've had good use out of, and is certainly more fun than the SMK will ever be. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Avenger Mark II, and I will see you all on the next one.